It's time for the drive with Q on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Now, here's Q.
Good afternoon, everyone. 5 o'clock straight up on the East Coast. It is a Man Up Monday edition of the Drive with Q coming at you live inside the friendly confines of the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game studios. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. Mi hermano, Angel Martinez, behind the glass producing the show, keeping us on the air. 60 minutes to play with. We'll take up to 6 o'clock as always. And do not forget the 727-858-6650 on this early February 3rd, 2025. A lot to get into. We are inching closer to the Super Bowl. You got that 1 week out of the way, and it's the 2 week. It's just annoying as hell. I mean, back in the day, there was never really that low, but be that as it may, a week away, 5-6 days away. Super Bowl Sunday, Kansas City and the Philadelphia Eagles. We will get into that second portion of the show. But we have to get into, shocking news really over the weekend in the NBA. And I don't care whether you cover the sport, whether you follow the sport or not, anytime you trade players that are in their prime and it's an unexpected swap. I mean, I don't even know how we can relate to, say, the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, or the NHL. The fact that out of absolutely nowhere, you find out that one of the best pure scorers in the NBA, Luka Doncic from Dallas Mavericks, gets traded to the Lakers for the brow, Anthony Davis, an all-NBA defensive player. I mean, you want to talk about, again, there's disbelief, there's shock, you got to be kidding me. It's unfathomable. I mean, who in their right mind? This was basically this move. Now, there's a lot of layers to peel back with this move, but this is a classic. They know more than we know. And I'm telling you right now, this was massive. It's unexpected. You rarely ever see a move like this in sports. You really do, let alone the NBA. And it's just crazy. You have two players in their prime, two faces of the franchise, which tells you right now, the Los Angeles Lakers, they're going to try to groom Luka to, quote, get him in conditioning and shape and see if they can stretch another year or two out of LeBron James, who was taken off guard. Jason Kidd with the Mavericks taken off guard. Mark Cuban basically said, I don't have a hand in this at all. It is a shocking move on so many levels, because nobody expected this. And remember last year when we were talking about the NBA Finals and the Celtics winning it in 5, and everyone was talking about Luka and how some of the players and Kyrie and some of his teammates, when he was out on the floor, the offense didn't flow. He scores 30 in game 1, 32 in game 2, has the off game in game 3, scores 29 in game 4. Then he scores, 20 something in game 5, in which they lost. They lost the series in 5, but this move reeks of just the Dallas Mavericks probably being fed up to here with Luka for so many levels, whether he's injured, off injured, out of shape, not engaged. It doesn't matter. What matters today is the shocking revelation that, listen, man, you're giving him you paid him a max contract. And you're already saying goodbye to him. That's massive. He's averaging close to 30 a game, and you always got to get the third team involved. I mean, so when the dust settles, you got Dallas, you got the Lakers, you got the Jazz, a 3-team swap. Luka to the Lakers, Davis to Dallas. The Lakers are going to receive Doncic and a couple other players. Dallas is going to acquire Davis, Christie, the Lakers 29 first-round pick. The Jazz are getting some players, a second-round pick from the Clippers as well. I mean, it's just crazy. It's absolute. You've got a one in a kind, if we want to equate it to baseball, 5-tool, right? A 1-3 type. He can play anywhere on the floor if you ask him to, in Luka, and he can run the floor, and he can shoot, and he can rebound, and he can dish. He's a great player. And he's a scorer, and he doesn't get phased. Okay, he enjoys playing in the NBA. He enjoys life a little bit. He'll have a beer here and there. He'll eat a hamburger here and there. All right, so what? Guy's averaging 30. There had to be so much more to this that we're going to find out. unless you are basically interlocked, you have an ear to the grindstone of what's going on within the Dallas Mavericks organization. And now it's a free for all because now you're hearing rumors, well, Paul George, get him out of in Philly. What's it going to take to make this trade? Are we going to be able to get another player for Steph in Golden State? I mean, the buzz surrounding the NBA right now, hell, if you wanted the NBA on the map for a couple of days, you got it. You got it. And Davis is a very good player. Listen, Davis is a really good player. And what's interesting is that this deal now puts Luka with LeBron James. So now you got a 1-2 punch in Los Angeles. Now, I don't believe they're going to win anything, and I don't believe Dallas is going to win anything. I don't. Davis and Kyrie, that's not bad either. Now, is that going to make LeBron James want to stay with the Lakers? Remember, trade deadline's right around the corner. It's Thursday. So players can block, veto. They can do whatever the hell they want if they have that power. What's going to happen with Jimmy Butler? Is Golden State going to make a move, or obviously going to keep Steph? It's crazy, man. And think about this, which when you really move away the X's and O's, do you know how much this trade right now is costing Luka? Do you know how much this trade? It's going to cost him about $116 million in free agency. Because now this trade prevents him from signing another Supermax deal with Dallas, which would have been about 5 years, $345 million. So now he's looking at 4 years at $229 plus he's also going somewhere when you think about it with the taxes. So listen, it is not a situation where you're looking at Luka and you're saying, all right, he's going to miss out on some monies, but he's a great player. He's a great player. Listen, he does shoot, he does rebound. He's not going to be an all-world defensive player, but you're bringing him in because he's averaging 30 points, period. You're bringing him in because he's averaging 30 points. And he's an offensive juggernaut. That's why you're doing it. And the other reason is, who knows, man? Who knows if they're trying? Listen, LeBron James can sit there and say anything he wants. LeBron James can be shocked. He can be distraught. He can be disillusioned, disenchanted. He can say whatever he wants. I find it very hard to believe that there was not an inkling that LeBron knew some type of deal was going down. I find that it's stunning. I don't know what the equivalent is. I mean, you're trading all world, is it like a T.O. for a Randy Moss in their prime, a Jerry Rice for a Randy Moss in their prime? However you want to equate it to, it's apples and oranges, because ultimately in the NBA, you always got to get that third team involved, right? And the other thing is, Jason Kidd, who's an assistant coach, or I should say with the Dallas, pardon me, he was assistant coach with the Lakers during that 2020 championship run. He's reunited. Now think about this. So again, he's joining a team featuring a coaching staff that's led by Jason Kidd. But man, to not even know what the hell's going on is just, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. Like, just how in the world, if you're a head coach in the NBA and the GM should face questions, and Jason Kidd looked like he was caught off guard. He's in the dark. You're trading a franchise player, the cornerstone of your franchise, out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. It's a crazy story. And so much more information is going to come out. But Luka, listen, he's a great player. There's no denying it. And, maybe it's like James Harden in the fat suit and all of a sudden people think he was overweight and he was really slim and trim and he took us all for a ride. I don't know. But I know the kid can flat out play, and I know he's only 25, 26. Yeah, he's dealing, obviously, with some injuries. But my goodness, 28 and 9 and 7? Yeah, don't listen, he's pretty much a triple-double. He's pretty much a triple-double. And now you turn around, you also have an all-world defensive player. You got a really good rebounder in AD. Who they thought was going to be the cornerstone with LeBron James. It's just the timing of it is fascinating because nobody saw this coming. And that's, again, what is interesting. Nobody saw this coming. And I'm telling you, man, don't tell me for 1 minute that LeBron James within, if you back these guys in a corner, okay? Don't tell me for 1 minute LeBron James did not have anything to do with this or did not know what the hell was going on. I mean, do the math. Who's his agent? It's Rich Paul. Go look at his clients and you'll figure it out. You're talking about the guys that have power with these franchises, that have the say with these franchises. I mean, if I'm Luka, you want that fresh start? I don't know. He just bought a $15 million mansion. Got to put that sucker on the table, right? It's funny too, because now you're going to hear the buzz, Paul George, Embiid, all these names, we already saw with Fox, which is, listen, that's a big trade as well. But let's not, again, the Spurs basically fleeced the Kings and the Bulls. But let's not act as if, the AD and Luka is, I heard some national talking heads talking, it's a non-story. What are you kidding me? Stop. It is almost the equivalent of like a T.O. or a Randy Moss or a Jerry, like in their prime. We're going to go like Brady and Mahomes, swap the quarterbacks. Tells you in the NBA, these players, there's something that we don't always know because A, we're not privy to the information. That's number one. If you're not covering this team on a daily basis and you're in that locker room, that's number two. And you just never know what's being said behind closed doors. I mean, there's been rumblings that, again, they just, if you go back to this situation where, what was it? Game 3, game 4 last year, there was already the talk, not playing both ends of the floor, not in the flow of the offense. And then he comes back and he has like 35. Okay. The conditioning, everyone's taking shots at his conditioning. I get it. You want the player, you're going to pay the player that amount. Okay. You want him engaged. You want him in shape. He's 25. He's 6'6". So he might carry a little extra weight. Okay, whatever. But the trade to me is just absolutely, it's stunning. I mean, think about the Dallas Mavericks return package from the Lakers in this move. Think about it. I mean, I bet you other teams that would love to have a Luka, I mean, they're probably thinking that the return package sucks, right? I mean, you're dealing Doncic to the Lakers. You got to have that third team involved. We know that. You got to look at the salaries. You got to look at the contracts. And the Mavericks likely would have received more draft compensation if they decided basically to start what? A bidding war. And I don't understand why their GM, Nico Harrison, just spoke to one team. Oh, by the way, which was the Lakers. Oh, by the way, LeBron James. They wanted to add a defensive-minded big. Insert Anthony Davis. Fine. But man, if you're trying to jack up the price for compensation and you're going to have to get multiple teams involved and you're just sitting there with a player of his ilk, his talent, his stature, and you don't even leak that, that's, you've missed out on the bidding war. You missed out on the bidding war. Listen, Davis is one of the league's top two-way players. We all agree, right? Luka is a face of a Mavericks team, face of a champion, a franchise, coming off an NBA Finals appearance, and he was finished, third in MVP? He's 25. So he's dealing with the calf injury, but he's averaging almost 30 points a game, 9 rebounds to go with 7 and 8 assists. It's ridiculous. Come on. It's ridiculous. When they were winning 8 and 9, I think he pumped in like 46, 47. So now all of a sudden you got Dallas that's going to try to come out of the Western Conference. Okay, now you got Davis and Kyrie. And now all of a sudden the Lakers breathe a little life. I don't think they're going to really make a deep run with Luka and LeBron. But I for not for, just for the life of me, for the life of me, do not understand if you're going to trade a player of his talent, you don't you just if you're going to leak it, right? Leak it. But again, I want to shop this guy around, man. I want to dangle the carrot. I want to see who's willing to give me. In the NBA, what's it all about? Draft capital. That's all we're concerned about. Give me picks, give me picks, give me picks. Sure, you got to get a second or third team involved. Sure, you got to get close with the contracts and the salaries. It's now how much, put it this way. If you look at the Western Conference, which is absolutely stacked, it's stacked, man. Do you sit there and say, all right, where are the Lakers right now and where are Dallas when it comes to NBA favorites to win it all? Listen, you would think right now, if you went back and you were looking at their win totals, I mean, regular season wins, Lakers are still looking at minus 320. Dallas is plus 250. So as of February 3rd, the Lakers have 28 wins compared to 26 for the Mavericks. LA has 35 games left to play in the regular season. Dallas has 32. Now you got to look at the health, right? And the two players that were swapped. I mean, are these moves enough that are going to put these teams over the hump? Are they going to be favorites now coming out of the Western Conference? OKC, Memphis, Houston, you still got Denver. Lakers right now are sitting at 5, and I believe Dallas is, where's Dallas? 9th seed right now? I mean, listen, your guess is as good as mine on this, but it is a really fascinating trade that just, again, came out of nowhere. And like I said, the other thing that really stinks, if you're Luka, the fact that you're not going to have an opportunity for that max. I mean, I would be pissed. I would be absolutely I would be distraught, man. I would be so friggin' pissed off. But that's the NBA. I mean, imagine you're working a job, and I know this is apples and oranges, and you got to stay on for like 3 more months, and you get that $25,000 raise, or that $50,000 performance incentive bonus. And I know it's apples and oranges. Now you're Luka, and you're not eligible for a $345 million max contract. That stinks, man. That's horrible. He would have been paid $345 over 5 years. It's not good. And that's, again, the business side of it, because now you're talking about the financial playing field. That's what you're talking about. And you go back and you look at his options, current contract, 43, 45, 43 total, $1.15. Okay. Next eligible, what? 52, 55, 59, 226. 2 plus 1 extensions, it comes out to 165. So the money, the meat on the bone that he's leaving on the table, that's got to be a bitter pill to swallow, man. It really does. I mean, it stinks, man, because you can only extend for 30% of your cap beginning in 2026, 2027. So the Lakers are basically getting a top 5 player in the league at a discount price compared to what the Mavericks would have had to pay. That sucks. That sucks, man. Plus with the tax and all that other stuff. I mean, look, I'm sure the Lakers, again, the sneakiness, they knew exactly what the hell they were doing. They knew exactly what they were doing. And by the way, for those, I know you guys are going to ask, Mark Cuban claims he didn't know what the hell was happening, but okay. 727-858-6650. We'll start you off on a Monday, 20 past the 5 o'clock hour. See what you guys have to say. So we'll dive in your comments. NBA wise, stunning. I don't even know what we equate this to as far as like NFL standards. You're talking about 2 potential Hall of Fame players, are we not? 727-858-6650. We're already starting with the lack of the patience. What is this? Banker's hours crap. That's unnecessary right there. Start the show already. Huh. Lack of patience. All right. We're seeing that. We're seeing a lot of that, Angel, but that's okay. Trevor wants to know if we're gonna do our chop bets. What's the madman saying? Where's he breaking balls? Oh, well, I mean, it's not like it's a big friggin' story, right? It's Trevor. What's he got here? If the Mavs called the 76ers instead of the Lakers and wanted Embiid for Luca, do the 56ers do it? Embiid's a dog. You can get rid of Embiid. That's a waste of a contract. Embiid is an absolute friggin' he's a dog. He's a dog. Won't have a beer on Michael Finley. Yeah, that's not nice. He was very close to breaking the Mavs, I think, scoring record, right?
Yep. Luka is not a 5-tool guy. White James Harden. Oh, I didn't know.
I mean, he's averaging nearly a triple double. I mean, listen, is it enough? Is that piece enough to get them over the hump? No. Is it possible too that they're bringing him in with LeBron because maybe LeBron can teach him a little professionalism? Right? I mean, think about it. LeBron, like or loathe LeBron James, at his age, the numbers he's putting up, and he's constantly in cardio, he's constantly in condition, he's constantly training, working out. That's his lifestyle. That's his life. So again, that's maybe you're just kind of, hey, we're grooming this guy, and eventually LeBron's going to retire, and you still have a face of the Lakers. It ain't Bronny, but now you still have the face of the Lakers. I mean, that's another angle that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. Because if you have a problem with his conditioning and his cardio, and you believe that's impeding his progress as a player, to grow as a player, to mature as a player, to take it to the next level. I mean, imagine if he was in ridiculous shape, he's averaging 35 a game, not 28. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. I'm just throwing it out there. Everyone's got their own opinion and their own take on it, but it's stunning. You don't see moves like this in the NBA. You really don't. And again, the Lakers always find a way to get that franchise big name player.
Yep.
That's what they do. I mean, go down, trade it, with Milwaukee back in the day in 71, 72, Lou Alcindor, boom, becomes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And then the rest is history, as they say. So, what's Jay saying?
He said Davis comp as Embiid, telling who's always hurt.
Yeah, but that's you again. In today's NBA, you do need a rim protector, and you need someone that plays both ends of the floor, right?
There was a video too earlier about when he was at Game 6 or whatever it was. That because at the end of it, of course, no one saw it because it was like in the back, hallway, locker room, whatever. And Luka had a beer in his hand. Here comes a GM and takes a beer out of his hand. Kind of like, we just lost. So why are you drinking a beer? What else are you supposed to do? Are you going to go to the court and cry?
Yeah, I mean, listen, they lost in 6. I mean, it's just you're going to I find it very hard to believe that Jason Kidd was in the dark. I find it very hard to believe that Mark Cuban is confused by this trade. And I understand Mark Cuban sold, right, his majority stake. I get all that, but I just feel as though there's more layers.
There has to be. Plus, you figured how in the world? Because if you listen to to that press conference piece, it cracks me up when he talks about Jay Kidd, we're on the same story, we're on the same wavelength. I don't even have to say. I know what Jay Kidd's thinking. He was thinking the same thing I was. Jay Kidd and I think alike. We were like, oh, we need to get rid of him. And you can see on Jason Kidd's face, like, what in the hell are you talking about?
Well, because he realizes he just lost his best player. I mean, when you listen to the GM talk, the fact that at no point of the process of this trade negotiations did the GM feel the need to talk to anyone else about the move kind of tells you all you need to know. That tells you all you need to know. Yep. If I'm a GM and I'm getting ready under the sheets to make a move here, under the covers and trade the face of the franchise, an extremely popular player, charismatic, a likable, talented player, and I don't even confide in the head coach. What does he tell you about the relationship between the GM and the head coach, and in this case, Harrison and Jason Kidd? If Jason Kidd was unaware that Harrison was shopping Donchek, and it had been a month of dialogue, think about that, a month that the GM is talking to Rob Pelinka of the Lakers. So it's like you're dating somebody and they're looking for greener pastures, and all of a sudden you're like, well, how long have you been in love with so-and-so? And oh, it just happened out of the blue. And then you find like a chain of a month plus text message. You're like, what the hell? Are you kidding me? Like, that's horrible.
It's a great point.
Like, you knew for a month and now you're finally deciding to tell me? I mean, that's depressing. And that just tells you zero lack of communication and zero transparency. And I don't know, man. Listen, there's something's amiss, man. Something is a miss, big time. You don't not confide in your head coach. You just did you see the clip? The GM basically said Jason Kidd didn't know about the trade. Jason Kidd's sitting right there.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. It's just his face tells the story alone. How could you turn around and basically tell everybody, shh, no one's going to know, and nobody, just me and the GM from the Lakers. They're the only two that's going to know. Nobody knows anything. And then in the middle of the night, are we doing another
a very bad, zero lack of transparency. You have to be forthright. You have to at least let the head coach know. You don't have to give him all the details, but you're allowed to bring in Jason Kidd. Any non-shady GM or sneaky shady or non-shady sneaky GM is going to bring in your head coach and say, look, I know we discussed this with Luka. I know he's a great player. He's a franchise player. We'll retire his number someday. It'll be in the rafters. I know he's off injured. We know about the conditioning. We know about some of the failures in the playoffs. And listen, I got to be honest. I'm thinking about shopping him. What's the best course of action? What's your input? What do you think? The fact that he's not even having that conversation, he doesn't even bring it up, then that kind of tells you all you need to know. And if I'm Jason Kidd, that would also not only bug the hell out of me, but that would worry me. Because if the GM is not being honest with the head coach, then, who's he being honest with?
Correct.
Or what's he hiding from the franchise? What's he hiding from? Is he looking to potentially replace Jason Kidd? Right? It's like you walk in on a Monday, you're doing a hell of a job, and you get the pink slip on a Friday. Or a Friday, you're doing a hell of a job. You come back over the weekend on Monday and you get fired. That horrible vote of confidence. I mean, that's as awkward as it gets. That video was almost as awkward as Shad Khan in front of Balky basically saying, yeah, if I hire a head coach and says, get rid of the GM, I'll get rid of him. I mean, you want to talk about two awkward videos? They were beyond awkward. Yeah. I would not feel comfortable right now if I'm Jason Kidd. You can't.
There's no way. But then how is it possible you have, again, alleged supposed where you wanted, LeBron stated that he wanted both Luka. Well, they were trying to, I guess, lure him to Dallas. Then he says, no, you guys need to come to the Lakers. So they don't get Kyrie, you get Luka, but you don't get a two-man deal to go out there. Supposedly they may be shopping Kyrie to Phoenix. Who is Jimmy Butler? That's where he wanted to go. I don't think Jimmy Butler will not end up in Phoenix. He'll probably end up somewhere else, other destination that he doesn't want to be.
Well, he can veto. Jimmy Butler can veto. He's got a no trade clause. He can veto. So
it's some of these moves that the NBA are doing, not even to add that Adam Silver and his nonsense about, I want to cut down 2 minutes from 12-minute quarters to 10-minute quarters because I want the games to be exactly 2 hours. Well, okay. But everybody knows the final 2 minutes in the NBA is like the final 20 minutes in any other game because it takes so long for the last 2 minutes. Unless it's a blowout. If it's a close game, where foul, timeout, foul, timeout, foul. And then we finally get towards the end of the game. And then with the other stuff where he wants to Let me go overseas with this and create a Euro League. Why? You've already screwed up the American version so bad. That's what you want to do now is go to Europe and figure out what you can do over there. So this is why I've lost so much interest into the NBA, because every year they find a way to make it worse, or you got teams that will never be able to make a run for an NBA championship because they just don't have what it takes, or they won't have the cap to be able to say, I want this guy, but someone else is going to steal him from under us.
Yeah, these ideas of shortening up the game, stop reinventing the wheel.
Mhm.
Seriously, baseball was made to be played slow.
Yep.
Stop reinventing the wheel all the time. First of all, the NBA's already got to deal with a bunch of nonsense right now because I don't know. Again, I talked about it last week, the whole gambling stuff with Terry Rozier. You got the feds involved. You might have another gambling ring again inside. Now you're talking about college teams that are caught up in this Jonte Porter, Terry Rozier gambling ring investigation. So that's a whole nother can of worms, man. If you got to, that's the last thing the NBA needs to worry about. And then you don't have a transparent GM with a head coach, which is just, I think it's a bad look, man. I think it's a really, really bad look. And the money that he's losing, a couple of you guys already pointed out, this is Vince, they got under luxury tax, saved $300 million by trading him. No Mark Cuban anywhere in sight. What is going on in Dallas? Yeah. And man, taxes, bro. Luka just went from no state income tax to Texas to one of the most highly income tax states, California.
Yep.
That's brutal.
Do you think though, Q, was it done on purpose so he couldn't get that max contract? Basically, Dallas was like, we know what we're up against, and he's going to be screwed next year.
Nah, I think there's more to it. I do. I think there's more to it, and we're not going to know. Every NBA insider can now come out and say, "Oh, I heard rumbling." You're all full of shit. Sorry, Windhorse, Shams. You're all full of. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody did, and if they try to tell you they did, they're full of shit. Sorry, they're not being honest with themselves. This is as stunning as an NBA trade that you can ever recall. Because you're talking about a team that just went to the NBA Finals with the face of the franchise, okay? And all of a sudden, boom, here we go. Overnight, like a thief in the night, we're going to jettison this guy. It just does not make sense. If they had that, maybe the GM did not want to have the conversation with Jason Kidd about Luka, being off injured or the conditioning issue. I don't know. Maybe it made for a uncomfortable type of conversation, but that's what we call, a man up Monday, a Manolo man up Lunes Marte Monday, right? You got to have these conversations. It's courageous conversation. You got to be man to man. Your GM should be able to have an open conversation and dialogue with the head coach. The head coach should be able to give his input to the GM, whether the GM wants to take the input and take the advice or take the opinions and use them or utilize them, whatever. It should be that open door, man. It should be that open door. And it seems as though maybe there's some friction. There's more going on within the closed doors of the organization. And the relationship between Jason Kidd and the GM, I don't know. And you can sit there and now rip on Luka and talk about the weight gain and the beer snatch and the conditioning. Fine. And maybe that was it, right? Maybe the belief is that the Dallas brass decided, hey, man, if this guy's not motivated, to hell with him. We're going to be motivated to move on because this guy has major conditioning issues. We're investing a ton of money and he doesn't want to get his cardio up. He doesn't want to be in shape. He doesn't want to be able to run both ends of the floor consistently. I don't know, but I can tell you this, that's always been kind of the knock on him. I mean, think about this. If we're having this conversation about Embiid, remember years ago, stop drinking the Shirley Temples.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yep.
But we already knew Embiid was damaged goods when he was drafted. We already knew. Everyone knew. The whole world knew. The Sixers knew with the wheels, damaged goods. and here's a guy that can't stay on the floor, right? So, like, if Embiid were to get traded tomorrow for whomever, Anthony Davis, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there.
Right.
We revert back to this and say, well, it's shocking, just like this, but yeah, Sixers pretty much always were complaining about his conditioning. They weren't openly criticizing him, pardon me, but everyone knew. Everyone knew the guy's never going to play, 72 games. He's never going to play 65 games. They're only going to save him for the playoffs. He's constantly flopping. He's constantly flipping and flailing and flopping and hurt and injured. He doesn't want to play back-to-backs. Why do we give him a max deal? I mean, if anything, this move shows you that no one is untouchable in the NBA right now, because typically it's a players' league. That's another thing. It's a league driven by the players. So when the players make a stink, Angel, it's the head coach that gets fired all the time in the NBA. Now this move basically tells you, we don't care if you have a max deal. We don't care how much you're making. And I don't know what kind of precedent it's going to set, but I can tell you this. Again, I just go back to the fact that the GM did not even confide in the head coach. Now, I'm not saying he has to tell Jason Kidd every move he's going to make. But come on, man. You're not trading the 10th man on the bench. Right?
True.
I feel as though, like, he walks into Kidd's office and he's like, you got to start Hatterberg at first base, like, Moneyball, right? We're not going to go through this again. No, you have to. Right? I already traded this guy. I traded Pena. What are you doing? You're wrecking the I just feel as though now when these two walk in the hallways, they're just going to, maneuver around each other. It's a stunner, man. It's a stunner. You just don't see that in the NBA. You really don't. I mean, I think it might be a moot point because I think Memphis and Oklahoma City are the best teams coming out of the Western Conference.
Right.
But, we'll see. We'll see what the Heat try to do with Jimmy Butler, right? If they, Butler already told Golden State he's not going to sign there. So.
Yeah. Then you got to think, you also have two ball hogs in between Luka and LeBron. How's that going to work out? Because they both want the ball basically all the time. So how's that going to play out? And then
the one thing is, like LeBron can always bring the ball up the floor. I think, to your point, which is very valid, you've got two, on the ball type of guys, right? They want their shots. I'll tell you this. Let me see. Let me pull this up real quick. So the Lakers. So I'm wondering when because I know he's dealing with the calf injury, but here in the next couple, the Lakers right now are 28-19. They have coming up the Clippers, Golden State, Indiana, Utah, Charlotte, Portland, Denver. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Depending upon when he's going to be out on the floor and getting him involved in the offense and kind of working through the kinks, I can see them having a, dropping 6 of 8 type of slide because, again, you got to get this is not the All-Star game. You got to get reacclimated, offenses. I mean, we know the offense is pretty much predicated on a pick and roll in the NBA. But to your point, yeah, you got two guys that they want the basketball constantly. I mean, hell, you got one in Miami. I mean, you really want to stick him in Golden State with Steph? I mean, Jimmy Butler wants his shots. Curry wants his shots. So, yeah, it's Kevin Sean chimes in on XQ. I didn't catch what you said about the money's being lost from Luka, but it does sound like he'll still get that max deal. No, no. They can offer him, the most they can offer him is 5 years at $229. So that's $116 million less than what he would have gotten from Dallas. So, again, that's another issue, right? Mm-hmm. That's another issue that you're talking about. You're going from potentially making 300 and something odd million, and we don't have to pay you another 116. Money's, again, just money's crazy, right? Angel calling a man who's top 10 in assists in NBA history a ball hog is crazy. Ooh, Vince chiming in. Uh-oh.
Is he not? I mean, did I miss a memo somewhere between here and 2015?
Who'd you say was a ball hog?
Both Luka and Luka and LeBron, both of them. I mean, is there a mystery out there that I don't know about?
I mean, he wants his shots. They want their shots. I would agree with you. They all want their shots. How many minutes is LeBron playing tonight? LeBron is playing 34 minutes, and he's averaging 24 points.
Yet alone, they believe that Bronny is the answer, and so you trade away Davis because you want to bring up Bronny quicker than he belongs.
Oh, that's just now that's kooky talk.
And
Bronny James can't play. Bronny James stinks. He can't play.
I know he does, but his dad feels that he needs to be there, and if Dad says something, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I got news for you. He's not going to take away shots from Luka.
That he won't, but I find it funny. Listen.
That I can do. All right. 5:41, quick timeout. We'll get more back to your comments and your texts. I want to mix a little NFL as well. We'll take you up to 6 on a Man Up Monday of The Drive with Q right here on SR 102.9 FM. The Game, Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Quick timeout. We'll come back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today, I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Don't forget to get social with us. Follow Q at Rich Q on Q. And now,
Look at this
back
guy.
to Q.
Look at this guy cutting in the friggin' bumper guy, cutting off, commercials, firing off at will. Yeah, you were definitely firing off a little bit.
You didn't see the commercial running?
No,
When was the break?
No, I was doing some research. Why?
All right.
If Cuban, LeBron, and the GMs of both teams say they don't talk to the guys, why don't we believe them when we have zero evidence there? They're full of shit. Stop, Vince. Don't be naive. Stop it. They don't. Stop. That's just foolish.
Who does Vince?
It's not even about, it's not really Mark Cuban per se. Again, don't tell me LeBron doesn't have input. Don't tell me they're not speaking to LeBron. Don't tell me the GM should not be telling the head coach what they're planning to do. Luka was not the eighth man on the bench. He's not a reserve guy. He's not a 10-day contract player from the G League. He's not a practice player in the NFL. You're talking about a Hall of Fame player, and you trade him like that. Come on, stop. It's ridiculous. But Trevor, let's see Trevor's got a Pro Bowl hot take on a friggin' Manolo Monday. All right. What do we got here? Eliminate the Pro Bowl. Hold on. Do I even want to read this out loud? Have a third place game between the losers of the AFC NFC Championship, and the winner gets the 33rd draft pick on day one. Oh, man. I absolutely love our listeners and our commenters, and I would never, ever say anything disrespectful, ever, because that's just not my style. That is just... Eliminate the Pro Bowl. Have a third place game between the losers of the AFC and the NFC Championship. So that would have been Washington and Buffalo.
Yeah.
Okay. And the winner gets the 33rd draft pick on day one. So we're rewarding the losers with the 33rd. Now bear with me for a moment. Let me just pull up the draft.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to my favorite website. One of my favorites, Tankathon. Okay. So Trevor said the what?
33rd.
Okay. So right now, Washington gets the 29th pick. Buffalo gets the 30th. Kansas City, 32nd. Obviously, the Phillies, the Eagles get the 31st. So, is there really going to be a difference between the 29th and the 33rd pick?
Not really.
Okay. And now we're talking about another game, which means what? A logistic friggin' nightmare.
Yeah.
So that game would have been played now, this weekend.
Correct.
Okay. Which means we wouldn't have the Super Bowl until February 23rd.
Sounds about right.
Okay.
Well, we just go into March. Then we can just roll right into the voluntary OTAs and the draft.
Hell, why don't we just, why don't we go right into opening day?
See what the X-Men comes out with right after Trevor's?
Imagine someone catching an ACL in a third place game. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you something, Trevor. Imagine if the Eagles are playing in that third place game and Jalen Hurts tears an ACL. Okay. Because I'm just going to keep the comment right up there. And Jalen Hurts tears a ACL. Okay. I just can't imagine what it would be like in the city of brotherly love. I'm sure they would not be flipping over cars. I'm sure they would not be looting, loitering. I'm sure they not be, jumping on poles and flags and come on, stop. And you also have to think about this. Now, in essence, it is technically a 17, 18 week, 19 week to a 21 week NFL season. I'm not going to say how I feel about that comment because, again, he took the time to chime in. Did you see Myles Garrett wants to get traded or requested?
Sure did. Yep. I mean, how long could you have stayed with? Listen, I applaud him for staying and believing in Cleveland as long as he did. But right now, Cleveland has taken the top spot in the succosphere because the Jets have pretty much kind of withered away from it now that Aaron Glenn is the head coach. So now the Cleveland Browns, the Brown Baggers are coming back out. So yeah, think about it. Like, how long could have Myles Garrett honestly stayed there? The Cleveland Browns are not going to the Super Bowl come next year. Now, of course, I make a monkey out of myself. It turns out to be the case, but they're not going to the Super Bowl next year. So why? He gave Cleveland everything he possibly could, right? Doesn't hate the city. Never mentioned that whatsoever. He wants to win just like anybody else. So now there's 9 destinations possibility for him to land, including being together again with Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, I mean, come on. I would be the same exact way. How long could I go around hoping and dreaming one day to get to the big dance?
Yeah, well, So they're not going to win. We know that. They're not a very good franchise. They have a lot going on. They have a lot to deal with right now, especially with Deshaun Watson. And I get it. After a while, you want to go to an organization that's putting a winning product on the field, and you realize that in Cleveland, it's not going to happen. Look, he's a hell of a player. I mean, you can argue he's, one of the top defensive players in the league. And he wants that desire to win. And you're right, he's not going to get it playing in Cleveland. But, correct me if I'm wrong, and I have to pull up his contract. See what the numbers are. He's 29. He's still in his prime. Now, this tells me two things. The fact that if Cleveland wants to even entertain this,
right,
then that tells me he will be a trade chip. What's Jerry? What's Jerry's beef right now? What happened? I can't believe you wasted that much time on it. What happened? What'd I do?
I think that might have been the 33rd pick.
Oh. Sorry, Jerry. Jerry was basically saying, don't even read it. That's 10 minutes of my life we can't get back. No, that would tell me that if Cleveland has the number 2 overall pick right now. So again, man, you want to package him, you want to move down.
Who would you
where
say?
Where are we looking at his trade value right now? Like, can you get a 1? Right? Can you get a 1 and 2? You throw a player in there. Look, he's a great defensive player. He's a great defensive end. I know the Raiders right away, right? The Raiders. Pair him up with Max. Yeah, every team, every GM is talking about that right now. Pair him up with X, Y, and Z. I don't know what you get with him. I have no idea what is he going to command at 29 years of age. Great player, disruptive edge rusher. He's posted over 100 sacks in his career. He's a great player. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's a game changer. You're giving up 2 1s. You're giving up a 1, 2, and a 3. You're giving up a 1 and 2 2s. I don't know. I don't know. What's interesting is that they're saying they're not going to deal him, but yet they gave all that money to Deshaun Watson, which is a horrible contract. So a rebuild is coming at some point. So lesson be learned if you allow these players to either walk and not get any value back. If you know that the money you gave Watson, it blew up in your face, it's a horrible contract, you're not going to win, you can try to cash in and get some assets back, knowing you got the number 2 pick, you can rebuild and try to be competitive again in 2, 3, 4 years. You have a tremendous amount of value in Garrett, which means his stock is only going to keep rising with more suitors, something that the Dallas GM decided not to do, right? Not to do, leverage with Luka. Then you try to leverage this.
Damon said argue this weekend with the great boxing card that was displayed.
Oh, yeah. I was calling the action at the Prudential Center. It was a large Polish contingency. And, well, there were 13 fights. And let's just say I had to phonetically sound out a lot of the fighters because, as we know, pronunciation is not my strong suit. But I did see Benavidez get the win. Shields got the win. And how about this? It looks like that one of the big fights that we believe is going to happen. It looks like it is going to happen. Canelo and Terrence Crawford. Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford. So,
really? For this year?
Yeah, they're saying, when is that fight going to take place? 2025. Do we have a date yet? What is that? In September, I think? October? Yeah.
Is that Vegas or have said
Vegas.
Vegas?
Vegas. September, yeah. 2024.
Wow.
Yep.
2025.
Correct. That too. 2025. Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
So let me tell you. So real quick, I had there were, like I said, there was 4 names that were just horrible. Did you know, like, so there's certain letters that are silent in Polish. Hold on. We have to bring up my fight card. Yeah. So for instance, one was Warszak. Andrzej Warszak.
What?
Yeah, Andrzej Warszak.
Okay.
And his opponent, you ready for this one? Hold on.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this was a dandy. I can't even pronounce this. I don't even know how I was able to pronounce it on the air, to be quite honest with you. But I'll give you this one kid, Keith Cologne, a young kid out of Newark, stud, absolutely friggin' stud, man. This kid, 3-0, he's got ridiculous hand speed. He's just 22. He's a featherweight. Definitely a kid to watch. Oh, and then we had a very good female fight, Miyo Yoshida, who's a former champ from Japan. She fought and dominated her opponent. She's a former world champ. So here you go. Damian Kaniba. Then we had Michael Straczynski, which I think was more Russian. Oh, Fedor Kashekin. Yeah, which, if you know me, I butchered his name. I had to stop.
You're better than I am.
Andrei Swerchek. And then the other name, well, that was an easy Russian name. Dmitry Noskov. When we got John Vallejo, Peter Latorre. Oh, Matish Barishki.
Oh, no, see, you're much better than I am. Because that would have been me. I'd have been.
And I just said Benishki. Yeah, Benishki. Yeah. No, I didn't say Horshik. I didn't say Horshak. It's Sweat Hogs. That's a great name, by the way. That was a great show.
Sure was.
So yeah, a lot of NFL over the weekend. We got a whole week, by the way.
Yep.
Howie will find a way to get Garrett. Maybe Howie will find a way to implement a friggin' third place game. We want to give out participation trophies too. Trevor, is that what we want to do? I could play a Russian spy with that accent. I could. I too like to live dangerously. Sir, you have 17. I saw you got a little PT time with if I'm the Sixers, I get Embiid out. Oh, draft flag. Everyone's on that kid. His stock is rising.
Yep.
Embiid might go down as one of the most underachieving superstars ever, if that makes sense.
Yepers.
Because everyone thought, you can't even get to an Eastern Conference Finals. Jesus God.
It's never going to work.
What's that?
It's never going to work. With Embiid, it's not. The extension was even dumb. It's never going to work. They're not going to reach it. On top of, you got Josh Harris, who's just become pretty much a bum when it comes to the Sixers. He's more worried about the Commanders as he is at Sixers at this point. So it's not going to work.
Can you blame him? I mean, at least one team made a trip into the finals in an NFC Championship. What the hell are the Sixers have done?
Well, as an owner, if you want to be involved, you would actually be involved, but he didn't want to. Once he started talking about the Commanders, that was it. He was out on the Sixers. So,
you know, guys like that have that type of money, man, they're going to pick and choose. Come on. Right? Woody Johnson's hanging out in friggin' London, in England. I mean, they're just going to totally pick and choose, man. And the Sixers stink. Yeah. You can't take anything they do. I mean, Paul George looks done. He looks shot.
Yeah.
Oh, but we have to bring in another superstar for Embiid. You have to. You have to. It's going to be hilarious when Paul George gets traded. Seriously. It is.
Good point. It's true.
If Embiid's questionable and Paul George is still out, I mean, what do you have here? You got nothing. You got nothing to deal with. Nothing. They're not a good franchise. They're poorly run. You talk about franchises that have not been transparent over years when it comes to injuries. I give you the Philadelphia 76ers. All right. I know Jay's coming up. We got to start wrapping up on a Monday. I didn't even see. Did Man throw in the joke on a Monday or what?
He did earlier.
Oh, he did. Did we miss it? Did we FCC it?
Hang on. Let me go back a little bit.
I saw Brussels sprouts. What's he saying?
He said, "What do you call kids born in a strip club? Brothel sprouts."
All right, that's not bad. All right, we got to start wrapping it up. We'll be back in the saddle on Wednesday. Friday.
Before you get into it, before you wrap up, so you know that obviously, quick thing from the Pro Bowl, ear hustling.
I mean, we would digress if we didn't go ahead.
No, because of the joke. So obviously, usually when twins are born, they're born the same day, just a couple minutes apart from each other, right? So ear hustling, and someone's asking one of the other players a question. Someone had said, "Hey, by the way, my brother's a twin," and so girl says, "Wait, I'm sorry, I was listening. You said your brother's a twin?" And the guy said, "Yes." "So is he here?" It's no. We don't do the same thing. She goes, "But you were born on the same day, correct?" And the guy just kind of looked over like, "Say it again." Just, you were saying that you and your brother are twins, correct? And the guy said, "Yes." "So is your brother here?" He said, "No, he doesn't do what I do." She goes, "But you were born both on the same day, correct?"
She didn't understand that.
Right.
Yeah. And like those poor twins that are together. You ever watch those on the Discovery Channel and
The
stuff
conjoined
like that?
twins?
That's sad.
Yeah.
I mean, they live, seems like very happy lives, but I mean, obviously this girl didn't understand that just because you have a twin, you're allowed to kind of exactly who's on first. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly where I would have went with that. All right. Yeah, I saw you got a moment with Eli Manning. I did see that.
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's another thing. I tried my best. What I was trying to do is to see if, because some of the guys were grabbing, like some people were asking, "Hey, can you send out a message to my brother because he's sick or whatever case may be?" So in my head, I thought, "Ooh, can I?" Well, no, because listen. First of all, everybody knows.
Hold on a second. You hem and hawed. You went there to go get sound, and instead, what were you doing? You were doing Make-A-Wish?
No, no, not me. What I'm saying is I got sound from Eli because I asked him about Saquon, which if you notice real quick on his eyes, he was like, "Oh boy, I knew someone was going to ask," because no one said anything about Saquon Barkley.
Of course, because it's a little more loosey-goosey there, but yeah, I get it.
So then these other people were saying to their players, like Vita Vea, they asked him, "Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you just do a quick video? My brother's sick, blah, blah, blah." And so Vita grabs the phone. It's like, "Hey, whatever, little Timmy, I hope you feel better," so on and so forth. So I thought, if I can get Eli Manning to just send a little shout out to our own Rich Q, I thought it'd be freaking
why not?
great.
I am sick. I tell him I'm sick and tired of watching this friggin' shit franchise. That would have been nice.
That's where I was going for.
You should have said, "Listen, I have a little cousin. He's a grown man, but he's a little cousin, and he's not really doing well because he can't stand watching the Giants anymore. His heart is broken. He goes fishing on a Sunday. He can't take it. He wants to rip off all his Giant stuff. Can you give him some words of encouragement?" But no, you decided to be selfish and get sound for your friggin' self. That's fine. That's fine. Don't worry about it.
Not at all. Not at all.
Or maybe we could have just asked him, "Hey, what's the chances that Giants are going to get Arch down the road, Arch Manning?" So, all right, let's get Jay on in Monday. Keep it locked in. We will be back in the saddle on on Wednesday. Friday, we'll do a nice show, Super Bowl preview. Kansas City, the Eagles, and we will definitely give some player props. All right, Angel Martinez behind the glass, keeping us on the air. Appreciate all you guys. Don't forget to download the app, SR 1029 FM, the game.
Jeez.
You know what? That's to be determined, my friend. That is to be determined.
That's a good one.
Unbelievable. That's not a bad way to close it out. All right, we will talk to you guys on Wednesday. Have a good Sports Monday. Be safe, be sound. As always, hasta luego, buen día.